Did you know that a foundational Black American man helped design the nation's capital and created the first almanacs, all while being self-taught? Meet Benjamin Banneker, a name that's probably not on the tip of everyone's tongue, but it really should be. He wasn't just any guy. He was a one-man powerhouse of inventions, science, and pure genius. And he didn't have fancy schools or loads of resources. Instead, he had the stars, his sharp mind, and a whole lot of determination. Now, Benjamin Banneker wasn't born in the fame or fortune. In fact, he was born in 1731 in Maryland to a family of freed foundational Black Americans. And guess what? This man didn't just look at the world around him, he figured out how it worked. A self-taught mathematician, astronomer, and inventor. He managed to invent a wooden clock that could keep time to the minute, long before smart clocks were even a thing. And oh, this clock, it was so good that it worked over 30 years, no repairs needed. But Banneker didn't stop there. He also created an almanac. Yes, the almanac, full of weather predictions, tidal data, and astronomical charts. This wasn't some casual side project, mind you. This almanac went on to be published for years and even caught the attention of Thomas Jefferson, who was so impressed, he wrote back to him, praising his intellect. Imagine, back in the 18th century, a Black man exchanging letters with the founding fathers of the country. Now that's a major recognition. What makes Benjamin Banneker even more fascinating is that his inventions weren't just about impressing people. They were about making things better. He created the layout of Washington, D.C., using his knowledge of geometry and astronomy to help design the capital city, ensuring the layout was aligned with the stars. And the best part, he wasn't even in it for the fame. He was driven by the deep passion for knowledge and using that knowledge to shape a better world. No big university degrees, no high-end labs, just a love for learning and a commitment to making his mark on history. So next time you think about the minds that shaped our country, remember Benjamin Banneker, the man who helped set the stars in motion, built clocks that could outlast time itself, and showed the world that brilliance doesn't depend on where you come from, but how far you're willing to push yourself. Benjamin Banneker wasn't just a clockmaker and an almanac creator. He was an inventor in every sense of the word. Picture this, in an era where many people thought the stars were only for astronomers with fancy telescopes and complicated gadgets, Banneker was out there looking up at the night sky with nothing but his keen eye and a mind that was always in overdrive. No big budget or fancy degrees, just raw talent and the kind of curiosity that made him unstoppable. One of Benjamin Banneker's most mind-blowing inventions, that wooden clock. Yup, he built it himself in 1753 when he was just 22 years old. And it wasn't just a little trinket. This was a full-fledged clock that kept perfect time, made entirely of wood. It even had a wooden gear mechanism. For context, clocks back then were made from metal and required a lot of intricate work. But Banneker, he saw no limits. His clock was so well built It continued to work for decades after he made it. A wooden clock that ran for 40 years. Talk about setting a high bar. But wait, there's more. While most people his age was still trying to figure out how to survive life in the 18th century, Banneker was busy crunching numbers and studying the heavens. And in 1791, after years of carefully studying astronomy, he released his almanac. This wasn't some amateur attempt. This was some serious work of scientific observation. His almanac, Banneker's almanac, included detailed weather predictions, astronomical charts, and even tide tables, which were critical for the people of that time who depended on the sea for trade and transportation. His work made the information accessible to everyone, from farmers to sailors, making it a revolutionary tool for everyday people. Not only did Banneker Almanac become a bestseller, but it also showcased Banneker's ability to bridge the gap between scientific knowledge and practical use. This wasn't about impressing elites. It was about giving regular folks the knowledge they needed to navigate life. Imagine trying to predict the weather without modern meteorology, or planning your farm work without knowing when the best time to plant crops would be. That's what Banneker made possible. And then there's the part where Banneker designed Washington, D.C. You might think of D.C. as just a city of monuments and policies today. But back in the 1790s, it was a blank slate. A new capital for a new nation. Enter Banneker, who, with his knowledge of astronomy and geometry, helped ensure that the city's streets and layouts were perfectly aligned with the stars. While Perry the Infant gets most of the credit for DC's design, Banneker's contributions was the most significant, using his precise understanding of the heavens to make sure the city was built in harmony with the cosmos. Now here's where things get even juicier. Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, was so impressed by Banneker's intellect that he wrote him a letter in 1791. Jefferson, the guy who drafted the Declaration of Independence and had his own ideas about race and intellect, was so taken with Banneker's work that he acknowledged how far ahead of his time Banneker was. Banneker, in turn, responded with a letter that not only acknowledged Jefferson's praise, but also boldly challenged his views on race. In one of the most powerful moments of his life, Banneker wrote back, pointing out that if foundational Black Americans were given the same opportunity, they too could contribute significantly to society. Talk about dropping the mic. Sadly though, despite his brilliance and achievements, Banneker's name didn't always get the recognition it deserved, especially during his lifetime. But that didn't stop him. He kept pushing forward, creating his almanacs and continuing his scientific work. Today, though, his legacy is finally getting the attention it deserves. Benjamin Banneker's life was a masterclass of persistence and innovation. He showed us that the limitations society might try to place on you, whether because of your race, education, or background, don't have to define who you become. Banneker broke barriers, challenged norms, and left a legacy that's still inspiring inventors today. His inventions and ideas didn't just change the world, they're still changing the world. The foundational Black American family love our ancestor, Benjamin Banneker. If you made it to the end, you know one thing. FBA Stoic, appreciate your patience. Hit that like and subscribe button. I got more coming. I'm working on this dope documentary about the FBA lineage. It's coming from my family tree, and it's gonna be hot, but it's taking some time because of the research. But peace, FBA family, and I'ma catch y'all in the next one.